The Archive. Dr. Isabella Reyes had spent 15 years searching for answers in the dust. The Atacama Desert's parched landscape had become her second home, each grain of sand potentially holding secrets of humanity's past. But nothing in her decades of archaeological work had prepared her for what lay before her now. Director Reyes, you need to see this. Dr. James Kumar's voice crackled through her radio, excitement barely contained. We found something different. The excavation site sprawled across 2 square kilometers of desert, a precise grid of trenches and markers that had yielded little more than pottery shards and ancient tools for months. But Sector G7 was different. As Isabella approached, she saw the metallic glint that had caught James's attention, a surface too smooth, too regular to be natural. How deep? She asked, kneeling beside the partially exposed panel. 3 meters, and it goes deeper. Ground-penetrating radar shows. Well, you should see for yourself. James handed her a tablet, its screen showing a complex network of chambers and corridors beneath the desert floor. Within hours, the site was swarming with additional researchers and equipment. As they carefully removed layers of sediment, more of the structure revealed itself. Seamless metallic walls covered in geometric patterns that seemed to shift in the harsh desert sun. Dr. Reyes touched one of the exposed panels, and the world changed. Light rippled beneath her fingers, and a doorway simply appeared in what had been solid metal moments before. The team stood in stunned silence. "Record everything," she ordered, pulling out her satellite phone to notify the Chilean government. This discovery was too big to keep quiet. The facility, there was no other word for it, descended 12 levels into the earth. Each chamber held new wonders, holographic interfaces that sprang to life at their approach, storage units containing technology beyond their comprehension, and most importantly, data archives. Dr. Maura O'Neill, their linguistics expert, spent days working with the facility's computer systems before making the breakthrough. "It's not a language we know," she explained, "but the system is teaching me. It wants to be understood." The truth, when it emerged, shook the foundations of human civilization. "We were created," Isabella explained to the assembled UN Security Council 2 weeks later. Behind her, holographic displays showed technical specifications and genetic sequences. This facility is one of 7 scattered across Earth. It's called an archive, built by a species known as the archivists. They didn't just guide our evolution. They engineered us entirely. The council chamber erupted in voices, but Isabella continued. According to the records, Earth was chosen as a testing ground for a grand experiment in guided evolution. The archivists seeded primitive genetic material here billions of years ago, carefully shepherding its development. But humanity was special. We were designed with purpose. What purpose? The Chinese representative's question cut through the chaos. Isabella took a deep breath. We were designed to survive. The archivists foresaw a coming crisis in the galaxy, something they called the Great Darkness. They created humanity to be adaptable, resilient, creative, qualities they believed would be necessary to face this threat. And where are these archivists now? The American representative leaned forward, fingers steepled. Gone. The last records in the archive are over 100,000 years old. They speak of withdrawing from Earth, allowing us to develop independently. But they left the archives as a failsafe, meant to activate when humanity reached a certain level of technological advancement. And now they have, James added, stepping forward. The facility isn't just a museum. It's active. Something in our development has triggered it. And he hesitated, looking at Isabella. She nodded. And it's changing us. The archive has begun activating dormant sequences in our DNA, sequences the archivists built into us millennia ago. We're starting to see the first signs already. Enhanced cognitive function, accelerated healing, abilities we're only beginning to understand. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity wasn't just discovering its past. It was evolving into something new, something its creators had planned for all along. As Isabella looked out over the stunned faces of Earth's leaders, she couldn't help but wonder, were they ready for what came next? The Archive's activation wasn't just a revelation about their past, it was a herald of humanity's next great leap forward. And somewhere out there, in the vast darkness between the stars, the great darkness still waited. The question wasn't just who they were anymore, but what they would become. The Awakening. The first incident occurred in a small hospital in Bangalore. Rajesh Patel, a 16-year-old boy, walked away from what should have been a fatal car accident without a scratch. Security footage showed his body absorbing the impact, his skin briefly shimmering with an iridescent light before returning to normal. Similar reports began flooding in from around the globe. A firefighter in Sao Paulo emerged unscathed from a collapsing building. A teacher in Oslo suddenly understood and spoke 12 languages she'd never studied. A farmer in Kenya developed the ability to sense water deep underground, leading his drought-stricken village to an untapped aquifer. Dr. Isabella Reyes watched the reports pour in from the newly established Archive Research Center in the Atacama. "It's happening faster than we anticipated," she said, turning to Dr. Kumar. "The genetic activations are accelerating." James nodded, his eyes fixed on the global monitoring system they'd developed. Colored points of light marked each confirmed case of genetic enhancement. The map looked like a star field, growing denser by the hour. "The UN Security Council is meeting again," he reported. "Some nations are calling for mandatory registration of enhanced individuals." Isabella frowned. That would be a mistake. These changes aren't limited to a few individuals. They're spreading through the entire population. The Archive's records are clear. This is a species-wide transformation. Director Reyes. Dr. O'Neill burst into the room, her tablet displaying new data from the archive. "You need to see this. I've decoded more of the genetic specifications. The changes we're seeing now, they're just the beginning." The holographic display filled with complex genetic sequences, each one representing a different enhancement waiting to be unlocked in human DNA. Enhanced cognitive processing, accelerated cellular regeneration, even more exotic abilities that defied current scientific understanding. "The archivists built us like a Russian doll," Moira explained, her Irish accent thickening with excitement. "Layer upon layer of potential, each one unlocking only when we're ready for it. And the archive isn't just activating these sequences, it's teaching us how to control them." Across the globe, humanity struggled to adapt to its rapidly changing reality. Some embraced the transformation, establishing schools to help people understand and control their new abilities. Others reacted with fear, calling for restrictions and containment. In New York, the UN General Assembly convened an emergency session. Isabella stood before the gathered representatives, her own newly awakened abilities allowing her to sense the mix of fear, wonder, and anticipation in the room. "What we're experiencing isn't a crisis," she declared. "It's our inheritance. The archivists didn't just create us. They invested us with the potential to become something more. The abilities emerging now were always part of us, waiting for the right moment to awaken." "And what of this great darkness mentioned in the archive?" The Russian representative's question hung heavy in the air. "Are these changes meant to prepare us for some cosmic threat?" "The archive's records are incomplete on that point," Isabella admitted. "But they're clear about one thing. We weren't designed to be victims or refugees. We were designed to be survivors, defenders. Whatever the great darkness is, the archivists believed humanity would be key to facing it." As she spoke, new reports flooded in. A group of enhanced individuals in Australia had successfully prevented a tsunami from reaching the coast. In Canada, others had contained a runaway nuclear reaction, using newly manifested abilities to manipulate energy fields. But with each new manifestation of power came new challenges. The old structures of society were straining under the weight of change. How could traditional laws apply to people who could read minds or walk through walls? What did national borders mean to those who could teleport? In the Archive Research Center, Isabella and her team worked tirelessly to understand and guide the transformation. The facility's databases contain training protocols and ethical frameworks developed by the archivists, designed to help humanity navigate this very transition. "Look at this," James called out one evening, pointing to a new pattern in the global data. The points of light representing enhanced individuals were beginning to pulse in synchronization, forming complex geometric patterns across the planet's surface. "It's not just random activation anymore," Moira observed. "There's a pattern, a purpose. The archive isn't just awakening our abilities, it's preparing us for something." As if in response to her words, new sections of the archive facility began to activate. Chambers that had been dormant since their discovery hummed to life, revealing new technologies and information. And deep within the facility's core, a countdown began, though to what, none of them yet knew. The awakening was accelerating, pushing humanity towards some predetermined threshold. The only question was, what awaited them on the other side? In homes and cities across the planet, people looked to the stars with new eyes, wondering if their creators were watching, waiting to see what their children would become. The age of ordinary humanity was ending. The age of potential had begun. But in the darkness between the stars, something else was stirring, awakening in response to humanity's transformation. The great darkness wasn't just a myth or a distant threat. It was coming. And Earth's children would soon be tested in ways their creators had only begun to prepare them for. The return. The signal came at midnight UTC, simultaneously triggering every archive facility around the world. Dr. Isabella Reyes stood transfixed as new holographic displays filled the command center, showing a massive fleet of ships approaching from the outer solar system. 16 vessels, Dr. Kumar reported, his enhanced senses allowing him to process the data streams instantly. Largest is approximately 15 kilometers in length. Their energy signatures matched the technical specifications in the archive. The archivists, Isabella breathed. They're coming back. Within hours, the fleet had reached Earth orbit. Their arrival wasn't subtle. Their massive ships visible to the naked eye, glowing with soft blue light against the night sky. Humanity held its collective breath, enhanced and unenhanced alike united in anticipation. The first transmission came through the archive facilities themselves, bypassing all conventional communication channels. A figure materialized in the command center, tall, ethereal, with crystalline features that seemed to shift and flow. When it spoke, its words resonated directly in their minds. "Children of Earth," the being said, "we are the Shapers, known to you as the Archivists. The great work begins." Commander Natasha Volkov of the International Space Defense Force took charge of the initial military response, though her orders were to observe only. "They've made no aggressive moves," she reported to the UN Security Council. "Their ships maintain high orbit, but they're launching smaller vessels, multiple landing sites detected." The first landing occurred where it all began, the Atacama Desert. Isabella and her team watched as a ship the size of a small building descended with impossible grace, touching down just outside the archive facility. The beams that emerged defied easy description. Like their holographic messenger, they seemed to exist somewhere between matter and energy, their forms fluid and crystalline at once. Leading them was a figure that introduced itself as First Shaper Aaron. "Your progress exceeds our models," Aaron said, its thoughts flowing into their minds with perfect clarity. "The genetic awakening has proceeded far more rapidly than anticipated. This is fortunate. Time grows short." In the weeks that followed, the Shapers established contact points around the globe, working primarily through the archive facilities they had left behind millennia ago. They brought with them knowledge, technology, and warnings. "The Great Darkness is no mere metaphor," Aaron explained to a gathered council of world leaders and enhanced individuals. "It is a force that consumes civilizations, that devours light and life itself. We have fought it across galaxies, across eons. But we are insufficient." The Shaper's form rippled with what might have been emotion. "You were created to be different. Where we are stable, you adapt. Where we preserve, you innovate. Where we retreat, you advance. You are our greatest achievement, and perhaps our last hope. But not all humans welcome their creator's return. Resistance movements formed, arguing that humanity should reject the Shaper's influence and forge its own path. The awakening of abilities had given people power. Some weren't eager to submit to anyone's guidance, even their makers. Dr. Rice found herself caught between worlds, trying to bridge the gap between humanity and its creators. They're not here to rule us, she argued in countless forums and debates. They're here to prepare us. The truth of her words became clear as the Shapers began sharing their full knowledge. The genetic awakening wasn't just about gaining new abilities. It was about preparing humanity for a role the Shapers themselves couldn't fill. Your adaptability, your creativity, your very unpredictability. Aaron explained, these are weapons against the darkness. It cannot anticipate what it cannot understand, and it has never encountered anything quite like humanity. But with this knowledge came a terrible burden. The Shapers hadn't returned solely to guide humanity's advancement. They had returned because the great darkness was approaching faster than anyone had anticipated. Their long-laid plans were being accelerated by necessity. In orbit, Commander Volkov's enhanced senses detected disturbances at the edge of the solar system. Shadows where stars should be, movements that shouldn't be possible. The darkness was testing their defenses, probing for weaknesses. The Shapers began installing massive defensive systems, upgrading Earth's technology centuries beyond its current level. But their focus remained on humanity itself, on accelerating the awakening and training those with newly emerged abilities. You are not our servants, Aaron told Isabella during a rare private moment. You are our successors. We created you, yes, but what you become now is your choice. We can guide, but we cannot control. And that is precisely why you might succeed where we have failed. As the preparations continued, humanity stood at a crossroads. The Shapers offered knowledge, guidance, and a place in their grand design. But accepting their help meant accepting their fight, taking on a war that had raged since before Earth existed. The choice would not be an easy one, and time was running out. In the darkness between the stars, ancient hungers stirred, and Earth's children would soon face their greatest test. The choice. The Global Unity Council convened in the newly constructed Nexus Chamber, a massive structure that merged Shaper technology with human architecture. Representatives from every nation gathered to make perhaps the most important decision in human history. Dr. Isabella Rice stood at the center of the chamber, the culmination of 3 months of intensive preparation behind her. Above them, through the transparent dome, both Shaper ships and human vessels patrolled the skies, a visual reminder of what was at stake. The darkness has breached the Kuiper Belt, she began, activating the holographic display. Our enhanced sensors detect multiple incursions. We estimate 3 months, perhaps 4, before they reach Earth. The chamber erupted in murmurs. First, Shaper Aaron stepped forward, its crystalline form casting prismatic lights across the chamber. We offer you our technology, our knowledge, and our alliance. But we cannot make this choice for you. The burden of decision must be yours. Commander Volkov, now Fleet Admiral after the integration of Shaper defense technology with Earth's space forces, presented the military assessment. Our combined fleet numbers just over 300 vessels. The darkness commands forces beyond counting. Traditional tactics will not win this war. But it was Dr. Kumar's presentation that captured everyone's attention. The final phase of genetic activation is ready, he explained, displaying complex molecular structures. The Shapers can unlock our full potential, all of it, at once. But the process cannot be reversed. We will become something new, something never seen before in the galaxy. The debate raged for days. Some argued for immediate acceptance of the Shapers' offer, seeing it as the only path to survival. Others advocated for a more measured approach, fearing the loss of human identity and independence. Professor Lai Wei, speaking for the scientific consortium, raised a crucial point. We're not just choosing for ourselves. This decision affects every future generation of humanity. We're choosing what our species will become. The Shapers had been clear. The final activation would transform humanity into something beyond even their creator's full understanding. The human genome contained layers of potential that, when fully expressed, would create beings of unprecedented capability. Your adaptability, your creativity, these were just the foundation. Aaron had explained. The final form, that was always meant to be your choice, your creation. We built the framework, but what you become within it is yours to determine. As the debate continued, the darkness made its presence felt. A research station in the outer solar system went dark. Then another. The enemy was probing, testing, learning. Admiral Volkov's enhanced battle groups engaged in the first skirmishes, giving humanity a taste of what they faced. The darkness didn't just attack with ships and weapons. It corrupted space itself, turning the laws of physics into weapons. Standard weapons are useless, she reported grimly. Even Shaper technology only slows them down. We need something they've never encountered before. We need to become something they can't predict. Dr. Reyes spent sleepless nights in the archive, searching for answers. The facility's databases contained the full history of the Shapers' war against the darkness. Countless civilizations lost, entire galaxies consumed. But they also contained hope. Simulations and predictions showing how a fully awakened humanity might turn the tide. The decision point came sooner than expected. Long-range sensors detected a massive surge of darkness activity near Saturn. They were gathering for a full assault. In the Nexus chamber, the final vote was called. Representatives from every nation, every culture, every perspective had their say. The weight of history pressed down on them all. Isabella stood again before the council, making her final appeal. We were created for this moment, but what we do with that creation is our choice. The Shapers gave us the tools, but how we use them, that's purely human. We can become something extraordinary, not just to fight the darkness, but to forge a new path for life in this galaxy. The voting began. Nation by nation, region by region, humanity decided its fate. As the final tallies came in, a hush fell over the chamber. The decision was clear, but its implications were staggering. First Shaper Aaron approached the center of the chamber. You have chosen. We stand ready to begin the final activation. But know this, what you become will be beyond even our understanding. You will be the first of your kind, truly unique in all the cosmos. Above them, the stars seemed to dim as the darkness gathered its forces. The moment of transformation was at hand. Humanity had made its choice. Now they would face the consequences, for better or worse. The real question wasn't just whether they would survive, but what kind of beings they would be when the dust settled. The age of ordinary humanity was about to end. What would rise in its place? The dawn. The transformation began at sunrise. In archive facilities across the globe, billions of humans gathered in preparation chambers, while others waited in their homes, hospitals, and community centers. The Shapers had assured them distance wouldn't matter. The activation would reach every human simultaneously. Dr. Isabella Reyes stood in the primary chamber of the Atacama facility, surrounded by her team. First Shaper Aaron's crystalline form pulsed with energy as it made the final preparations. There is no turning back from this point, Aaron communicated. Are you ready? Isabella looked at Dr. Kumar, at Dr. O'Neill, at all the faces she'd worked with since this journey began. They nodded. The entire planet held its breath. The signal went out. Light erupted from every archive facility, spreading across the planet in a web of golden energy. When it touched human flesh, it ignited something deep within their genetic code. The transformation was unlike anything the Shapers had predicted. Humanity didn't just change, they transcended. Physical forms became mutable, consciousness expanded. They could perceive multiple dimensions simultaneously, manipulate fundamental forces with a thought. Each person remained distinctly themselves, but also became part of something larger, a vast network of human consciousness that spanned the globe. Admiral Volkov, watching from her flagship in orbit, felt her awareness expand to encompass her entire fleet. She could feel every ship, every crew member, as extensions of herself. The boundary between human and machine blurred, technology becoming an extension of will. The darkness didn't wait for humanity to adjust to their new state. It struck with full force, pouring through the outer solar system like a tide of unlight, consuming everything in its path. But humanity was ready. The transformed fleet met them at Jupiter's orbit. Ships moved with impossible grace, crews operating as single organisms. When the darkness tried to corrupt space itself, humanity simply shifted to other dimensions, fighting back with weapons forged from pure thought and will. On Earth, Dr. Rice and others of the newly transformed coordinated the planet's defense. They could see the battle in multiple dimensions simultaneously, directing resources and energy with the speed of thought. The Shapers watched in awe as their creation surpassed even their wildest expectations. The darkness, for the first time in its ancient existence, faced something it couldn't comprehend. Humanity's unpredictability, their creativity, their ability to adapt, all were amplified by their transformation. Every time the darkness developed a counter to their tactics, humanity simply changed the rules of engagement. The battle raged across dimensions, through time itself. Stars were born and died in moments as reality buckled under the forces being unleashed. But slowly, inevitably, humanity began to push the darkness back. Then Isabella made a discovery that changed everything. Through humanity's expanded consciousness, she perceived something about the darkness that even the Shapers hadn't understood. It wasn't just a force of destruction, but a twisted reflection of life itself, corrupt but potentially redeemable. Working with a group of other transformed humans, she developed a new approach. Instead of just fighting the darkness, they began to transform it, using their new abilities to purify and reshape its essence. The effect cascaded through the enemy forces, where once there was only hunger and destruction, new patterns emerge. Complexity, creation, life. The darkness wasn't defeated so much as transformed, becoming something entirely new. As the battle ended, humanity faced its next challenge, defining their new existence. They had become something unprecedented in the universe, beyond even their creator's understanding. The Shapers, their ancient mission finally complete, prepared to depart. "You have surpassed all expectations," Aaron told Isabella. "The galaxy is in your hands now. Guard it well." But humanity's transformation had awakened something else, a deep understanding of their responsibility to life itself. They weren't just warriors or guardians anymore, but shepherds of evolution, custodians of consciousness. Teams of transformed humans began exploring the galaxy, seeking out young civilizations to protect and guide. Others worked to rehabilitate the transformed darkness, integrating its purified energy into the cosmic order. Earth became a beacon, a center of learning where the children of countless worlds came to understand their own potential. Isabella stood at the archive facility where it had all begun, watching a new sunrise. The light played differently now through her transformed perception, each ray containing infinite possibilities. "We were created to fight the darkness," she mused to her assembled team. "Their consciousnesses interlinked but individual. But we chose to transform it instead. Perhaps that's the greatest power we gained, the ability to change not just ourselves, but the very nature of reality itself." Above them, the stars beckoned, no longer distant points of light, but gateways to new adventures. Humanity had become more than their creators intended, more than anyone had imagined possible. They had become architects of evolution, shapers of reality, guardians of life itself. The dawn of their new age had arrived, and with it, infinite possibilities for what they might yet become.